What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Pace and Space podcast. My name is Sean Barnard, as always, here with my guy, Sam Oshtry. We got a lot to get into today. The NBA season is flying by. We have NBA Cup action tonight, a tough loss from the Sixers and the Lakers, and a lot more to get into. So, Sam, how we doing on this fine Monday?
Been better. It's Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Because we got some Monday Night Football. Been better. NBA show, but we're gonna start with some NFL Eagles talk.
Yeah, that's right. And unfortunately, both of us are too young to play quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, it appears. But we did have some exciting football last night. My guy and not my guy, Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert, and not at all what I wanted to go down. So I assume you want to take this here to run your victory laps for a Justin Herbert victory. Is that what's going on from a non-Eagles perspective?
That's not what I want to do at all, because this is all about the Eagles. I don't even care. Justin Herbert was not good. I mean, he's obviously tough for going out there and broke, even though it was his non-throwing hand. And he had some huge runs down the stretch of that game, and he was sacked 7 times. A tough game to come back for him against a great defensive line, a great defense in the Eagles. So credit to him for just the toughness, but he struggled. I mean, he wasn't good at all last night. He was certainly better than the other quarterback, because it was hard to be worse. Yeah. But I really just want to touch from the Eagles' perspective. I don't even care about the Chargers right now.
Okay. I mean, I'll say this. I'm a Jalen Hurts guy, a Jalen Hurts defender. That was, to me, by far the worst I've ever seen him play in the NFL. And I think that the first time over the past, really 2-3 weeks is where I have some genuine concern for Jalen Hurts. I did not think I'd be here, still rocking with the guy. He's still the reigning Super Bowl MVP, and this defense is good enough to give this Eagles team a chance. But my panic meter has certainly increased to a level that I did not think I would remotely get to this season.
What's been the thing with Jalen Hurts? Like his that we've defended. We're not guys who are like coming here to take a victory lap like a lot of people in the city are today, because they've been anti-Hurts guys throughout the entire 2 Super Bowls he went to, outplaying Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls, winning a Super Bowl MVP. There's guys who've continued to criticize him and been anti-Mahomes and pushing that agenda. Throughout his whole tenure here. We're not like that. So we're not going to come here and take a victory lap today, because we've been pro Hurts guys. We've been fans, huge fans.
Yeah.
Play as an Eagle by far. And when you talk about Jalen Hurts, the thing that we defend him about is all right, doesn't turn the ball over. Great decision maker. And that's so important. We can talk about so many different factors that go into winning a football game. When you win the turnover battle, you are consistently going to win football games. That just throughout all of history of the NFL, that's what that stat says. We are so good at winning the turnover battle, and we have been over the last couple seasons, because Jalen Hurts doesn't turn the ball over. That's his thing. So whatever you want to say, it's not like accuracy, arm strength, running ability. Whether you think all that's great or not is one thing. The best quality of Jalen Hurts has been not turning the football over and decision-making. And that looks like it's completely gone, especially last night, but over the last few weeks. His decision-making and his turnovers have just been unacceptable. 4 picks last night yet, and 1 fumble if you want to count that crazy play. But
have to.
Technically, yeah. But the thing is, with him, it's always been, all right, if he does turn the ball over, because every quarterback turns the ball over, it's not that 1 interception parlays into another, and 2 becomes 3, and 3 becomes 4, because he's all about a next play guy. He's a mentally tough guy. And when you kind of see quarterbacks throw 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions in the game, it feels like a mental thing more than anything. We've never seen that with Jalen Hurts before. It's 1 interception, and that's an anomaly, and then he comes back and plays really clean football. Yesterday felt like a mental thing. We'll talk about A.J. Brown. We'll talk about the offensive line, other aspects of this team, play calling, whatever you get into. But right now, the problems with Eagles start and end with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, and I did not think we would remotely be there. That I think you hit the nail on the head with all that. That he controls just the lack of turnovers, the really pace of the game in a way that I think is so admirable from the quarterback position. And we've gotten none of that over these past couple weeks. And like the Justin Herbert stuff, I've come on here and said my piece about him. Still mean every word of that, and I will defend his rudeness to Laura Rutledge after the game, because
everyone's defending him on Twitter, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to believe that guy has any idea what the experience is winning a big game. So you got to kind of give him
that was a good tweet. Credit to you. I liked it. That was a good tweet.
Thank you. But you are right. The Jalen Hurts stuff is ugly, man. So what do you do if you're the Eagles? You're not going to bench him. I don't want to hear the Tanner McKee nonsense. The dude is the reigning Super Bowl MVP, but the level that he's currently playing at is unacceptable. Is this a play call issue? Do those conversations get stirred back up? I agree with you. I've never seen sort of the mental slip that we saw from him last night and it actually bothering him. Some of those interceptions, I mean, they were bad. They were pretty much all bad as any way you cut it there. But what's the fix? Do you see any pathway to that?
Here's the reality with Jalen Hurts. We were all wrong and probably dumb, and I include myself in that, for thinking he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. It was
I don't
stupid.
know.
It just
I'm not there. I'm not willing to concede.
But I'm not going to go. We're going to be more level-headed about this and not going to go as far as to say bench him for Tanner McKee or trade him or like he's Russell Wilson 2.0, which you're seeing a lot of today. I'm not going to go that far. Here's what we know about Jalen Hurts. There's enough evidence of his career. He needs a perfect situation to succeed. He just does. He needs a great offensive line, a great running game, great receivers, good tight end, all that stuff. He needs a perfect situation to succeed. He's not one of these top quarterbacks in the league like a Stafford or Josh Allen, who are brilliant arm talents and unbelievably accurate, who can overcome poor weapons or poor offensive arsenal and still be great. Jalen Hurts can't be like that. We saw it in 23, where he threw for the most attempts of his career by a mile, like 500 plus. He's never gone over 500 plus attempts in his career. And he had 23 touchdowns, but 15 interceptions. It was the worst year of his career. He had to be a high volume passer. The following year, last year, of course, you bring in Saquon Barkley, offensive line is shored up a little bit more. Your weapons are healthier with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And Jalen Hurts has already thrown more passing attempts this year than he did last year. So when he was a low-volume quarterback, didn't have to throw a lot, just in the right situations, because teams had to load the box against the best running game in the NFL and the best offensive line in the NFL, Hurts can succeed in those situations. He's just not a guy that can carry a team when the situation isn't perfect. And that's what we're learning when he's had to become a high-volume passer for stretches this year when the running game's not working, even though it was really good last night. Offensive line is the worst Eagles offensive line we've seen in maybe a decade at this point, with all the injuries that they're dealing with. He isn't a great quarterback when he doesn't have a great situation. And that's where we're at with him. You can still win with him. You can win with him. So you're not benching him. And we know what he is in big games, but to get to the big games, you have to win a lot of regular season games and games in between. We're just not at the point with Jalen Hurts. Get that terrible take off my screen. We're not at the point with Jalen Hurts where you can win with him unless he has a great situation around him.
Yeah, I'm not there, Sam Oshtry. I mean, you have evidence to support your argument currently. The dude's 27. I've seen this dude be a top 5 quarterback for consistent stretches of time. I've
like,
seen
have you? When?
Definitely. He's been MVP candidate. Like he's been right in that.
We're 3 years removed from the MVP candidacy. You know, it was also an MVP candidate, Carson Wentz, one year. Like,
sure, but we see a lot of these quarterbacks come and go. He's playing bad football right now. That's absolutely correct. That doesn't mean he's a bad football player. I refuse to believe, I don't even think it's fair to say he's not like the engine of some of these teams, that he's still the quarterback. He's still the guy pulling strings. He's still, and I still don't think there's enough like credence given to him for overcoming the level of offensive coordinator turnover that has occurred. I don't think that they've yet to hit a stride as an offense this year. And I think that's large more responsibility of the play calling, the overall facts. The offensive line is definitely a huge factor there. Jalen Hurts has not been good enough. There is no doubt about that. But I'm not getting off all the takes that I think this is just a rough stretch for him. And by the way, we will see how he ends this season. Because if anybody is built to put this to the side mentally, find a way to play your best football when the brights are the lightest, it is Jalen Hurts. This defense is good enough to give this team a chance. If he can step up and deliver, and I'm not saying that he can't yet. I'm not willing to just say this is a lost season. That this story, this entire book of the season, however you want to put it here, reads completely differently.
There's enough evidence to say at this point that he can't be a high-volume passer. He can't be. And that's what the Eagles have to ask him to do when you can't consistently establish a running game in your offensive line. And look, the play calling is a whole other thing. A lot of people in this fan base right now want Kevin Petula fired. Here's my thing. Do we think part of the play calling is because they believe their quarterback is limited? Like when you've heard so much and all these
the chicken or the egg conversation
break down the route concept so that the Eagles are running and how they can't throw the ball over the middle of the field and the routes aren't even going towards the middle of the field. You think maybe some of that has to do with the fact they don't trust Jalen Hurts to throw the ball over the middle field. And then the other thing is, before you go, is they're in under shotgun more than most teams in the league. And look, I don't know about the intricacies of an offense and playing shotgun versus under center, but I know the smartest people who do know that stuff, who talk about it and break it down, say you can't have a successful offense that's consistently in the shotgun versus under center. You have to be under center consistently for just in terms of the unpredictability that it brings of playing under center. the Eagles, they've had some success under center, but they're consistently reluctant to go under center and want to play on shotgun. You don't think, like, these guys are smart. They see the numbers too, these coaches, I'm saying. You don't think part of that is because they believe their quarterback is limited as an under center quarterback? That's a problem. Like, you can say the play calling is one thing and all this, but maybe the play calling isn't great because they don't believe their quarterback can have an expanded playbook.
Well,
I think part of it.
I think it's a chicken or the egg conversation because I also can't not ignore that we've seen Jalen Hurts rip seam routes. We've seen the Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown slant route. That used to be like bread and butter of this offense when it was performing its peak. That has rarely caught. And by the way, he was hitting Goddard over the middle for dots last night. That 3rd and 18 or whatever it was that he picked up like right in overtime there. Like, he still can make the throws. It's just they're not there all the time or not being called or whatever. So I'm sure Jalen is definitely a part of this. And there's all the reads about him not wanting to run the ball as much and things like that. He definitely deserves a slice of this pie right now, but I'm not ready to pile on that everything that we built up, everything that this guy has shown to this point is not true. Like,
do you put more blame on the last night's loss on AJ Brown more than Jalen Hurts?
I don't, but AJ Brown's certainly not excuseless here. That, like, the first play of the game, man, like, we're talking about like right over the top. The AJ Brown conversation to me is you can talk all the talk that you want to if you show up and make the plays when they're there. He hasn't done that this season. He straight up hasn't. That he's had big time drops. He has not been an elite wide receiver in football. If we're going to do this about Jalen, it should be done about AJ Brown. That I don't think that he holds a candle to the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chases, the Puka Nakuas. He is not on that level of wide receiver right now. I think you can make a case that Devontae Smith might have surpassed him on this very team. So the AJ stuff, I don't think the juice is quite worth the squeeze anymore. There's an ugly dead cap hip that you're looking at, and I think that it's best for all parties to sort of put emotions to the side. I also will give him a bit of credit that he stood on the stand and defended Jalen Hurts last night, which for the but for the bad teammate stuff, like, I did appreciate that from AJ Brown. I don't put more responsibility on him, but he certainly is not blameless.
Yeah, the 3 drops were awful, and if he catches one of those, it's a different ball game. Eagles probably win, and we're having completely different conversations, but that doesn't excuse anything Jalen Hurts did.
For sure.
And we're at the point where I don't really know what it is with AJ Brown. Like, it's almost like he's running these routes so casually where he
doesn't. It looks like he doesn't care, man. Like,
yeah,
that's
yes,
what drives me crazy.
yeah, but like, it's not like he's like dropping the passes on purpose, or like he's just, I don't know if he's injured or he's not running full speed these routes, because it feels like these are like good throws and he's just not getting there, where they're like darts, and he's either not getting there in some of these deep balls or he's just dropping them, which is just uncharacteristic of him. And it's like, it would be ridiculous to say he's doing it purposefully, but it's been a weird season with him. It's also funny that when he was not producing and he wasn't really involved too much in the offense, they were winning games. Even though their offense wasn't great, it was mostly their defense. Since the last 3 games, he had 100-plus yard receiving games. Best 3 games of the year, they've gone 0-3. So it's just kind of funny where it's like he's not complaining as much because his production is up, but he has to take responsibility for yesterday's game. I mean, I think what's been clear this entire season, I'm sure it's clear upstairs with Howie Roseman too, is that AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts do not have a good relationship. There's no question about that. Those guys have to separate for the betterment of the football team in the future. And you're always going to choose the quarterback. Even if you're not 100% certain about Jalen right now, you're going to choose the quarterback over the wide receiver in this case, especially an older, declining wide receiver who's getting up there in age. So those 2 guys are separating. I mean, essentially, this is like 2 separated parents who are headed for divorce, and the only reason they're not getting divorced is for the betterment of their kids and the care of the kids. Like, the Eagles are the kids right now, but those 2 guys are headed for divorce, and I feel like the Eagles are they have to choose Jalen Hurts in that scenario. But whatever it is, it's just a weird dynamic with them that's kind of like permeating throughout the entire offense. And look, the offensive line has been bad and they're injured, but this isn't. It's not just a Jalen thing. But it does start and end with Jalen Hurts, because if Jalen Hurts is producing like a top 10 quarterback that everyone, including me, thought he was going into the year, you can overcome all these offensive deficiencies that they have.
The only thing that I didn't like about the volume passer conversation there is I think the list of quarterbacks that can actually win like that is like pretty much non-existent. Like, you can make the case Matt Stafford this year. We watched Joe Burrow probably put forth the most impressive like individual season, maybe from a quarterback last year, and they missed the playoffs outright. Patrick Mahomes looks like he can't win games as a volume passer right now. So it's all about like the context of the team and the way that it fits within this. We've seen Jalen be unbelievable, man, and I won't let couple bad weeks stretch let that overshadow the bulk of his career work.
You can put the credit Big Cat please comment on the screen, because that I knew that analogy was from somewhere. I'm not going to give myself credit for it. I did not remember this from Big Cat. I was honestly thinking it was from Colin Coward, but both it's an applicable analogy because it's true. Like those two guys are headed for divorce. Look, the Eagles' offense just isn't good enough, and there's no way they're going to turn around to consistently win games in the playoffs. It's just not as good as the defense has been, and the defense has been phenomenal. And there's really not anyone that scares me in the NFC other than the Rams, who are my Super Bowl pick right now. But like, we beat the Packers, we beat the Lions. Like, I'd love to see the Bears again. They're not going to run for 250 plus yards against this defense again, especially
I don't
if it's
know.
a
It
home
made
game.
Kamani Vidal look pretty damn good last night.
That's true. That's true. But it's still like the defense wasn't the problem. We're not going to put blame on the defense here. It's a whole offense thing. This offense just isn't good enough. There's not enough connectivity. There's not enough trust between whether it's the play callers, the quarterback wide receiver, the whole dynamic. It just doesn't exist. So we're going to find out the next 2 weeks whether it's 2023 collapse vibes where they lost 6 of their last 7 games, including that playoff game where they got killed to Tampa Bay, where it looked like they quit. Because the next 2 weeks against the Raiders and the Commanders, and then you finish the season with the Bills and Commanders again. So anything other than 3-1 would be ultimate collapse, it seems like, and they would quit before the playoffs even start. I don't think Dallas can come back in the division, but it's just sad because like it doesn't feel like this team is going to win a Super Bowl this year. And when you have the talent we have and the payroll that we have, and you just won a Super Bowl, I'm sorry, it's Super Bowl or bust. Those are the expectations. And it doesn't feel like this team can even make an NFC championship game right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on all that there. I'm not willing to say it's 2023 yet, just from the standpoint of I do believe in this defense. They look unbelievable, man. The rate that they're getting to quarterback, the rate the secondary. Cooper DeJean was incredible last night. Like, they have enough talent defensively that they're going to have a chance to win some games. And I totally agree that I think the NFC is for the taking. So I'm not ready to get off the bandwagon just yet, but this has to be the rock bottom of the season. If there's not improvement, turnaround, and a little bit of confidence boosted from here, I do think this team's in trouble. So we'll see. We'll finish with this. What is your ultimate prediction? Are they a first-round playoff exit team?
Probably right now. Yeah. I mean, look, it depends on the matchup. Then I mean, the next 4 weeks are huge. Like they have to win those 3 games again. 2 against Commanders.
They need to stomp on teams.
Yeah, it can't be like an ugly win where nobody's satisfied after the game. And like the Bills game, if they get those 2 wins and they get some confidence back going into the Bills game and they can beat the Bills and get their offense going a little more against a really good pass defense that the Bills have, but not a great rushing defense. Maybe you can establish a running game. Maybe, or Lane Johnson is supposed to come back against the Raiders next week. That helps. We know the Eagles record with and without Lane Johnson. It's absurd, the difference there. So like, right now, I don't think this offense is good enough and can get good enough over the next month to win a playoff game. But the matchups matter, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. This should be a lot of looking in the mirror moment for this Eagles franchise. But I do appreciate it. I thought I was going to get Herbert victory lapped here. So
I don't even care. Like, I don't even care about the Chargers aspect. It means nothing to me right now. The AFC team, I couldn't care less. But Herbert wasn't good, but it was impressive what he did down the stretch.
I do give him credit for battling through injuries. There is some real toughness. He has climbed up my respect meter slightly this year between Madison Beer, between playing through this stuff. I do have
but that's like, you don't disrespect Laura Rutledge in that situation, because like, I get he doesn't like to do interviews and all that. I don't like really care about the subject that much, but he doesn't like to do interviews and like get the attention, and that's fine. But like, ESPN is paying the NFL a ton of money for your media rights deal. Like, the intention that ESPN and all these networks create is the reason why you get paid $250 million and the reason why you're dating Madison Beer. So give a 5-minute interview to end the game, like every quarterback in the history of this league has done. It's like, all right, like you don't have to be a dick about it, for lack of a better term.
I do think it's unfair to expect he has any idea what the process is after you win a big game. He's never been in those shoes. We can't expect him to act like he's been there. So shout out to Justin Herbert. A little football talk to open the show today. Let's transition
back to our sport.
That's right. Basketball time. From one frustrating Philadelphia loss to another, the Philadelphia 76ers fell at the hands of the Los Angeles Lakers this weekend. 112-108 was the final. I have kind of mixed feelings about this game. For starters, this was the most like playoff atmosphere that I think I felt watching a Sixers game this year, like the most intensity that I thought collectively that they've shown. It did not feel like going through the motions or just figuring things out. There did feel to be like a will to win in a way that I appreciated from the Sixers team. the Joel Embiid stuff overshadowed a lot. He finished the game shooting 4 for 21 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. And I think we should start there with Joel. Or what was your initial takeaway? Do you think that is what stood out to you the most in this game, or where do you want to take it?
I mean, from the Sixers perspective, yeah, but I want to just start from an overall like NBA basketball perspective.
LeBron.
That was one of the most fun games I've ever been to, watched, ever. Like, as far as I can remember watching the NBA, it was just a regular season game. It was just a really fun basketball game between two teams competing really hard, going back and forth with some of the best players you'll ever see in the history of the sport on the floor. And I've been to a lot of NBA games, arenas everywhere. Nobody is ever in their seats when the game starts or when tip-off happens at 7:30. The entire lower bowl and pretty much the entire stadium was filled in their seats right at 7:30 to watch LeBron James play basketball. And I more than anything, I was more excited to see Luka play. I'd never seen Luka live before. So that was what I was excited about. But everybody was obviously there for LeBron. It was 100% a LeBron James crowd. And then I would describe it as like a 50-50 Lakers-Sixers crowd. But it was just cool to see. And this isn't the end. He'll be back in Philly next year. I think we all kind of recognize that on some level. He's not going to go out without a farewell tour this year. So, but it was still really cool to see. And then he has the moment that he has where Incredible. It was his best game of the season by far, coming off the game where he only finishes with 8 points, makes the dime to Rui Hachimura to finish the game, where he snapped the streak. It was like 1,000, almost 1,300 games where he scored 10 plus points in every single game. And he snapped the streak off a game-winning dime. A game where he really struggled too. He only shot 4 for 17 from the field. Comes back and has the best game of his career. The clutch moments that he had where they were just consistently going to the same action every time. And it was LeBron as the screener and Luka as the ball handler, and finding him in the short roll, taking advantage of switches that the Sixers would do. And there was a point earlier in the game, like McCain switched on to LeBron. LeBron just abused him. It was just like classic LeBron, drilling shots on the outside, fadeaways, like just he was so into it. It was one of the cooler basketball moments in the regular season I've seen in a long time. So we can get to the Sixers stuff, but I feel like I want to start with that.
Yeah, we will stick there for a second. I'll say down the stretch, dude, he hit like 3 straight like impossible shots, that like shots that you absolutely live with as a Sixers defense, of like you defend him as well as you could. You made him work and he just nails. And I'm not a LeBron guy. I never have been. That I have never kind of been subscribed to that theology there. It's impossible to ignore the greatness that he still possesses. And that kind of was a game that like changed my landscape of perspective of maybe I should be taking this Lakers team a bit more serious. That I kind of had looked at it as the changing the hand had for sure gone down. That this is Luka Doncic's team with LeBron James as a sidekick and Austin Reeves obviously doing what he's doing right now. LeBron still got a fastball in a way that I wasn't sure that he still did. And that was the first time I think we've really seen it this year.
100%. And he's not going to be able to do that on a nightly basis, but he also doesn't have to. Like Luka had 31. He still finished with 31. Was really inefficient, though. It was maybe Austin Reeves' worst game of the year. He did not have it going at all. So they needed LeBron, and there's going to be nights where they need LeBron in those settings, but he doesn't have to do that on a consistent basis, which is why it's really cool when you still get to see him dominate like he did, because this is Luka and AR's team, and LeBron's playing way more off ball than he has in his entire career. But that's okay, because Luka, they're the best pick and roll team in the NBA, because Luka and Austin Reeves are 2 of the most efficient pick and roll players, ball handlers in the NBA. So it's okay that LeBron plays off ball, but in instances where those 2 guys are struggling, it's like, all right, this is LeBron's time, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, 100% there. Now, I want to bring in the Sixers angle for a little bit. The Joel stuff, man. So a couple different places I want to take this. For starters, as sort of the larger, I guess, stroke I'm painting with here, it's so bizarre to me that the outlook coming into the season was we're going to be so careful, so calculated with Joel Embiid's minutes in a way we never have in the past, that we're going to be proactive with resting him days, keeping him on a minutes limit. Then he picks up a knee injury to the non-surgically repaired knee from this summer. They've essentially scrapped that he's played 30 plus minutes in both the games since he's been back, that they're just kind of allowing him out there. And by the way, this is not like a situation where he looks like himself again. Let's let him cook. He has not by any means on both sides of the floor. That he shot 4 for 21 in this game. I believe he started 0 for 11 from the field. And you can see like the thank you when one finally went down. And defensively, dude, it is just layup lines. And the lobs, the backdoor lobs are there on like every single possession. We just can't do this. Like, if this is the Joel Embiid experience, you have to treat him like any other player. And there were stretches in this game and really several this year where just legitimately having an Adembona out there is probably the better pathway for this team. And also down the stretch, like when he took that 3 when they were down 5, it's like, I understand this has been your organization for a decade. You have no right to take that shot. This is Tyrese Maxey's shot right there. This could be Quentin Grimes' shot right there. It's not Joel Embiid's, and he still kind of took it. On one hand, I like want to respect him shooting through it. On the other, dude, like we're just past doing this, I kind of feel.
The more inexcusable shot to me was when he got the switch onto Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
And they got him like a touch, like right around the elbow, even kind of in the paint. And he took some fade away, like one leg shot. It was like, you have a switch on Austin Reeves, bully him. But the thing is, like, that's also kind of been a concern with him throughout his entire career. And he really developed into a player that would bully switches and bully smalls when those guys were switched onto him. But that was not the case to start his career. Like, what did we always talk about years ago with Embiid was you have to take advantage of switches more, like stop settling. Like he was a guy that settled constantly and relied too much on his outside shot. And it feels like he's kind of reverting back to that in the back end and the kind of end of his career, I guess you could say. And that's not good for the Sixers at all. But how you view Joel Embiid right now is not through the prism of can he be an all-star level player? Can he be this guy you play through? It has to be like what the standard has become so low for him. The bar is so low. Is he a player that is serviceable enough to play in the final few minutes of the game in crunch time lineups? And that's a question I think the Sixers are still answering. I think everybody watches the Sixers don't really have an answer to, but you definitely can't reinvent your offense to play through Embiid where that hasn't been your bread and butter all year. Like he's not a guy, he's never been a guy who's been good in the clutch. He's not a guy you're going to play through in those moments. You have to continue to get Maxey shots and find looks for him. Like the game right before that one, I believe, or not before, it was Thursday night against the Warriors when they won on the crazy buzzer beater. Yeah, he was on the bench that game. He played, but he was on the bench in the final few minutes of the game.
They also blew a 24.
Yeah, they definitely blew a lead against an absurdly bad Warriors lineup, which was inexcusable. But in the final few minutes of the game, it was Maxey who was taking those final shots. It was Maxey who was making the plays. And that's what like has to be the Sixers' identity late in games. It can't be playing through Embiid. And look, I honestly didn't think he was moving horribly. Like if I'm being completely honest,
he's missing shots.
Yeah, it was just missing shots. It's like it's going to happen to anyone. Anybody's going to have a bad shooting night. So it's like I'm just looking at Embiid through the prism of, is he a serviceable enough big, like where he's playable? That's all I'm looking at, which is we've come so far down. But anyone looking at it from the perspective of can he be a reliable all-star level big, you're just going to be disappointed because he's not even close to that anymore.
I think defensively is where my biggest concern is falling. If like for starters, there were breakdowns across the board defensively in that game, but not just exclusive to Joel. Like you're leaving LeBron James open for stretches, and it's like, dude, like that guy probably should be on the scouting report if he was not already there. Like there's just a lot of the pick and roll communication. I think across the board has been pretty bad this season. Whether we're switching, whether we're fighting through, and that obviously should change depending on the matchup and what players you have on. I do think Kelly Oubre Jr. like they're missing him in a lot of those situations, even though he can get lost at times as well. But to bring it back to Joel, it's like it was also a foundation of this guy was an incredible rim protector for the better portion of his career, that there was an intimidation level where guys did not try him, guys did not attack inside, and now it is the exact opposite of that. It says as frequent as we can get to the rim as possible, that is what we're going to do. And those backdoor lobs, they're just there all the time. And I wonder, like, solving the equation for how to actually maximize this team, you need a very particular player to pair with that. Dominic Barlow, I think, is kind of close, but he's not like quite that. Like the Denver Nuggets did it with Aaron Gordon, man. They found a guy that can rim protect to an extent to which Nikola Jokic does. That he made up for a lot of the shortcomings. The defense across the board has looked better. I do feel that the Sixers need to find that style of player.
I mean, you keep bringing that up, but like, you want to overcome defensive shortcomings where it's worth it offensively. Like if a player's so great offensively, like a Jalen Brunson, it's like, all right, Jalen Brunson and Jokic, and these guys are offensive engines, and they're so valuable offensively. You create and build around them to find the right defensive pieces where you can kind of mask their deficiencies. Embiid's not that good offensively. I mean, not even close to it, where it's like, all right, let's build around his defensive deficiencies because he has no leap anymore. He can't protect the rim, can't switch on the guards like he had good stretches of throughout his career. it's like he's not even good enough offensively where you want to build around that. And Dominic Barlow, I think he's a really good player, and I'm actually really like him. He got dominated by that LeBron matchup. He was the primary defender on LeBron for most of that game, and he just was not even close to strong enough to guard LeBron, which is a whole different conversation from that game. But the point is that it's to me, it's like, is Embiid playable? Like, are you having a conversation? I haven't looked into the contractual stuff and logistics behind this, but
3-year extension starting next year.
Yes, but like I'm talking about a stretch and wave, like where you're looking at like a Damian Lillard thing, and I don't know if that's even possible. But at some point, you have to start clearing cap year by year, and that would hit you for a lot more years to come, but it would be a lower cap hit per year if you did that, because I don't know if this guy is even worth having on your team anymore.
I mean, this is like another huge problem too, is any like route to the equation of him being serviceable, he has to hit 3-pointers, man. He's shooting 20% from 3. And like,
and he's relying on them way more because he doesn't want to get to the rim and doesn't want to take advantage of switches or smalls.
Correct. Like, you have to be a decent 3-point shooter, and he has for most of his career. He's never been like an elite shooter. He's not Karl Anthony Towns, but there is certainly a world where I can see him be like sort of Brook Lopez, like in the way that you can pick and pop, knock down threes, space the floor, allow Maxey to drive. That's not happening right now. Those simply have to fall at a better rate than is the case. I do believe in like the long term of that. He's a good enough shooter that number will settle and increase, but that's certainly a problem when he shoots 0 for 6 from 3, like was the case against the Lakers right there. That has to be like a huge portion of his game.
Yeah, I mean, my expectations are just so low for him, where it's like I don't expect anything. And if I see him move well laterally, which is what I'm looking at more than like making shots or not, then I'm like, I guess, happy with his performance, because like that's all I expect from him at this point, where like I don't really expect him to have better shooting nights than he did the other night, but I don't expect much offensively. I don't think he's a guy you want to run stuff through. He's also still a good screener. Like he's there was multiple moments he freed open
McCain
or Maxey and McCain. Like he's a good screener still, and like teams are still doubling him, which is very strange. Like the Lakers were sending a lot of doubles at him, and like obvious doubles too, where it's not like he turned his back. Like he could see the doubles and was making the right read off those doubles. He doesn't beat guys one-on-one, so why are you doubling him? But like that's his value out there, and it's so low at this point where like after this year, you really have to have a conversation about like what do we do with him?
Yeah, I haven't looked that deep into it, to be honest. My brain goes, it's probably impossible to do anything.
Here's a question for you.
Okay.
Who's in this city longer? Jalen Hurts or Joel Embiid?
So we got, I think it's a lock that Joel Embiid will be in the city for 3 more years, and then that will be the end.
I don't know.
Well, I would look at it that way. So the question is Jalen Hurts here for 3 more years or for 4 more years or less than that? I would say Jalen Hurts is in the city for longer than Joel Embiid. I think it's a low point right now. There's no way around it, but I see the window shutting on the Joel Embiid experience in a way that I don't think is quite fair to assess for Jalen Hurts. It could get worse. Don't get me wrong, but that's kind of how I read it right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Jalen Hurts will be here longer. I do think it's an interesting question, though.
It is,
especially on a day like today. I do think Embiid's not going to be here for that entire contract. I think there's creative things and ways you can do to kind of cut bait with him.
I don't really, because anything is like you're putting yourself at a deficit. You're either attaching stuff to try and trade him. You're either putting yourself in like a financial tough spot with the stretch and wave.
But like you're 100%. You gave him the extension, so you're not going to like be void of that contract completely. But is it addition by subtraction if he's just not even around anymore? And that's the conversation you have to have, where it might be worth a stretch and wave, where you have to eat a salary over longer years, but per year it's a less of a cap hit, and you can build around those. You've more opportunity to build around Maxey, and Paul George won't be here by then, but like a Maxey VJ backcourt, and that's the conversations Daryl Morey has to have this year, and he is having. Like there's no like 100% Joel Embiid, let's ride this thing out for 3 more years. It's what is the future with him, and how do we potentially move off him? Those are the conversations that have to and are taken.
The part that sort of have, I guess, ramped up the urgency of this to me is for sure Tyrese Maxey, man. Like, I can't believe how good this dude has gotten. And I think even on a night like the Lakers, they did not play through him as much as I thought should be the case. He's incredible. He's a top 10 player in the league. He's one of the best guards straight up right now. And I know he's going to be a good soldier. He's not going to speak up. He's not going to act out. That's not how he's wired like that. it has to be maddening to be in his shoes, to be cooking at the level that he is, for this team to more or less be constructed around him. And then Joel just sort of steps in and takes over for stretches right here. I do believe he likes Joel. I do believe they have a good relationship. I think there has to be kind of a tipping point in this where you got to pick up that this is maddening to the other guy.
Yeah, I don't know how it wouldn't be. Like like a guy who's that good, who's playing some nights, not playing other nights, showing up late last year. You to call him out because of his lack of commitment in terms of just not being punctual and all these things. It like has to be frustrating, especially because the leap Maxey is taken, which is beyond all of our wild imaginations, where he's like a top 10 to 15 player in the league.
Yeah. I do gotta ask the Paul George experience. How do you feel about that currently? I don't think it's as like he's another guy that's not going to live up to the dollar signs of the contract. I thought the Bucks game was by far his best game of the season that we've seen from Paul George, sort of a comforting level to slow down the pace of play. I thought he was really good defensively. What's your level of urgency for getting off that contract, or are you okay with this guy sticking around?
I mean, if you look at it through the prism of is he what he's worth, is he what he's getting paid to do? Obviously not.
Yeah.
They expected way more from him, but like I've been pretty satisfied with on the current roster construction, where he's just been a guy that has kind of played pretty well off the catch, which is what he's customarily done throughout his career. And he can also create in short stints, but you don't need him to for that long. Like even to open the game against the Lakers, there was a play where Maxey was off the ball and he ran around a couple screens and got like a corner wing. I don't remember exactly, and he drove the three to open the game. And that was an opportunity for Maxey to get off the ball because you have guys like Paul George and others who can play on ball. And I like seeing Maxey get off the ball a lot because I think he's a really good relocator. He's a really good shooter off the catch, and that'll give him more opportunities to get double less and kind of just get open playing, running through screens. So I think Paul George has been pretty good on ball as a creator from what I've seen in stretches. The defense has also been solid. And also you don't need him to create that much because like Quentin Grimes is probably a better creator than him, and he's getting a lot of on-ball reps when he's in, especially when he's in with the second unit. Tyrese Maxey obviously is the primary.
My liking in
What's
the Grimes
that?
I said a little too many for my liking in the Grimes category.
Yeah, probably, but like he's also still a good on-ball creator for sure.
Yeah.
And he might even be better than Paul George at this stage of his career. But like I've been satisfied with how Paul George's been playing. It's just he's not worth what he's getting paid. And eventually, when you have to maximize this roster, which, by the way, is one of the deepest teams in the NBA when fully healthy. Will they ever be fully healthy? Right now, they're missing Kelly Oubre and Trent Wofford. Those are two big additions when they get back. But like this is an absurdly deep team when they're healthy. And that's if they're healthy, and that's a huge if. But I've been fine with Paul George. I think he's been playing pretty well, again, when you lower the standard for him.
Yeah, I think that's the right read of things there. He's too California cool for my liking. Like there is a lackadaisicalness to his game that does drive
always just that's always how he's played.
It
Pacers, Thunder. That's just always been Paul George's style.
Yeah, no, 100% there. It does bother me in a way that I wish it didn't because he is a good player and he is a guy that's mostly played his role. I think you're right about all that. I will say I think the situation with Paul George, Joel Embiid, it's you continue just taking the lumps right now, allow another year to fall off the contract and sort of see how the equation looks like at this time next year or in the offseason, I guess is the case. But I think he's going to stick around. Like I don't see any team lining up to say we're a Paul George away, even though there might be a world where that does appear with like a year left on the contract or something like it. My final Sixers thought, Nick Nurse hates Jared McCain, man. He absolutely hates Jared McCain, and I cannot be convinced otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously
didn't play a minute in the third quarter of that game.
Yeah, and the Lakers went zone in that third quarter, and they could have used some shooting out there for sure. He doesn't think he can play defense. Like, it's really that simple, and he's probably right that he can't play defense, and when you pair him with certain guys, and you can go to the on-off numbers where he's good with Grimes, I believe it is. I don't have it right in front of me, but there's certain guys he's much better with because he has like a bigger defender. But like when he's paired with Tyrese Maxey, that's an awful defensive backcourt, an awful point of attack defense. So Nick Nurse is reasonably concerned about the defense, but Jared McCain is a microwave scorer. I mean, he can come in and hit 3 straight threes. Like he's a great shooter. Talking about relocators, he's unbelievable relocating as a shooter, and he can play on ball too. So I think Jared McCain's a good player, but I also understand the defensive concerns where Nick Nurse's reluctance to play him, especially because it's such a deep backcourt. Like if Grimes wasn't on this team, or VJ wasn't on this team, you'd have to play McCain more. But like they have such a deep backcourt and so many ball handlers where it's kind of hard to find minutes for him. So I think he'll continue to play more as the year goes on. But obviously, Nurse doesn't trust him defensively.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like that's the answer. That's why he's not playing more. But my pushback is this is going to be a bad defense regardless. That at best, this is a mediocre defensive team. That's just how they're constructed. When you have the rim protection concerns we've just talked plenty about, that like they've got vulnerable defenders that have not been able to consistently lock down a stretch where they've been good defensively. So if that's the case, give me a little extra scoring pop. Let's try and run. Let's try and outscore teams.
I don't hate it. I mean, like the team like the Celtics, that's kind of what they're doing right now. They're not good defensively. They have pesky guards that like to get into other guards' grills, but they're not good defensively at all. They just have an unbelievable offense, win the possession battle, do things of that nature. Like the Nuggets have been like that a lot of years. The Spurs like that right now, 8-3 without Wemby. Their defense is awful without Wemby. But like De'Aaron Fox trying to show, Dylan Harper's back. There's a lot of teams that are kind of just like not sacrificing defense, but just going all in on offense because they know there's no personnel they can put out there to have a good defense. So I don't hate that philosophy if the Sixers do it.
Yeah, I think we should lean into that. Like, I think that is the direction. I think Jared McCain is talented enough offensively that it's worth putting up with. He for sure is not a good defender. I'm not arguing that. I just think the calculation is wrong in Nick Nurse's head for this. Jared McCain, if I'm to set the over-under at 1.5 All-Stars in his career, which direction you bet? Under.
Yeah.
Think he makes one?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he has a great year, makes one. I think he's going to be a really serviceable role player. Like he could have some 6-man of the year years, and maybe certain lineups he'll be a starter. But like we're talking about an all-star, like a top 3 player on any team that's decent. I can't really see that happening for his career. He looks tiny out there, and he's not like at that small when you look at his height, but like he looks really tiny out there, and it's concerning. Just from the perspective of, coaches don't trust him defensively, but also like he's decent finisher around the rim, but like it's kind of hard to beat guys off the dribble when you're that small, unless you have like the Jalen Brunson footwork and minutia that he does. I don't see it. I don't see it as like I don't see the star potential of Jared McCain is what I'm trying to say.
All right, well, Jared McCain, I'll put it on record that I will continue believing you. I would bet the over of 1.5 All-Star games, and it would not shock me if it is much more than that.
He's an All-Star vlogger, though. I'll tell you that.
He is that. This is how I foresee things going, is eventually when there is this crunch for the guards for who sticks long-term, that Jared McCain gets ultimately thrown to the side and he ends up an all-star at another team. That's my prediction for how this ultimately concludes.
Yeah, I don't hate the prediction that he might not end up a Sixer with this backcourt and some concerns with this backcourt and how crowded it is, or end up not a Sixer. I can't really see on any team him getting the opportunity and shots to be an all-star unless it's an awful team.
I think it should be kept in mind that this was basically a lost offseason for Jared McCain, that he
for sure.
tore the meniscus, then he missed training camp with the torn ligament in the thumb. He's really not gotten a consistent role. And dude, he was absolutely cooking last year when he actually got the chance to. I think he is like a true elite NBA shooter.
But that was also like a really bad team where he had a huge role on a really bad team because Maxey was out of the lineup a lot of those games where McCain was really good. Obviously, no PG, no Embiid. Like his usage and his shot attempts and volume and all that was so high because the team was so bad. So yeah, you put him on the Pelicans right now, he's averaging 25 a game, but that wouldn't get him an all-star just because you have to be on a good team and be a good player on a good team.
Yeah, I just think stylistically, if you allow that dude to dribble, pass it off, move off ball, create a shot, that there is something to it that can function in winning basketball. We'll see how it ultimately concludes itself, but I'll just keep on record. I believe in Jared McCain. I'm rooting for Jared McCain here. Let's slide around the league. Actually, we'll stick on the Lakers for one final point. Do you see the Rich Paul quote saying that he does not view the Lakers as contenders? What were your thoughts on that?
He's right. Interesting. He said that.
Very.
I actually watched some of that podcast last night.
Shout out Max Kellerman.
Yeah, because Max Kellerman's the smartest guy in sports media, and he's awesome. So I wanted to listen to it. Rich Paul could use some work as a podcaster, but that's a different conversation. He's much better talking about the NBA than NFL. He's right about the Lakers. Interesting he would say that, but he was honestly like that clip is being taken out of context. When you watch the whole podcast, he's being very open and honest about a lot of teams and things in the NBA where nobody knows more about the inner workings of the NBA and what's going on than him. Not a single person, I don't think. And he was talking about his clients too, specifically, and the teams that they're on. So I feel like that was people are making, oh, he's putting pressure on the Lakers. They need to build at the trade deadline on behalf of LeBron. That would be a LeBron move and a Rich Paul clutch move. I don't necessarily look at this as that. I think this was him being an analyst and talking about how the Lakers aren't good enough to contend, and they're not. I mean, it's the Thunder, it's the Nuggets, it's the Rockets right behind those two teams, and I think there's a sizable gap between the rest of the West, which would include the Lakers and the Spurs and the Wolves, and those teams are kind of the second tier. And it's nothing to do with offensively. The Lakers are phenomenal offensively, but they've had really easy strength of schedule so far this season, and they're a really bad defense. And they were 21st this weekend. They were 21st defense. They were the 21st defense in the entire NBA. But they've mostly played bottom tier offenses. 14 of the 22 offenses they played at that point were in the bottom half of the league. So their defense was still that bad while not playing good offenses. And they don't have a lot of rim protection. DeAndre Ayton's been better as a rim protector, but Jackson Hayes is not a good rim protector. A lot of times teams are putting like Luka as the low man. He's actually been the rim protector, the second most on the Lakers, other than DeAndre Ayton. So like when he obviously can't protect the rim, LeBron can't protect the rim, and the Lakers are much better defensively without LeBron on the floor than with them on the floor. So this defense is just really bad. I don't really see a pathway to them getting better. So I can't see them contending with those top teams, no matter how great this offense is.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I'm surprised to hear him say it was probably my takeaway, which I think you're kind of in the same direction there. The Max Kellerman and Rich Paul podcast is going to be something, man. That's going to be this is not going to be the last time that we talk about what they're talking about, or that
I think every time they do a podcast, which is 3 times a week, they talk something NBA. It's going to be clipped because Rich Paul has that type of influence and his words matter.
Yeah, I've been on record. I said this to Yaron when we had him on the podcast. I think he's the most powerful man in the NBA, and I still stand by that. He is the guy that makes the inner workings go, and there's a lot moving behind the scenes from draft to trades and all those things. So very interesting to kind of do it in a public platform in the way that is the case. But did want to at least mention that there. I guess to slide around the league a little bit more, Sam Oshtry, this is the Oklahoma City Thunder's league, and everyone else is just existing in it. Is that correct?
It's ridiculous. I mean, you see the best NBA teams of all time don't take certain regular season games or matchups that seriously. They take every matchup so seriously. What the Thunder are doing is ridiculous. Like I think there's no question they're going to win 74 games because you're seeing it without their stars. The other night against the Jazz, they didn't have Shea, and was Chet out too, I believe. They even when those guys sit, their entire team and their bench players continue to elevate their performance. They're all two-way players. Yeah. There's not any guy who can contribute offensively but is a liability defensively or vice versa. All these guys are two-way players, and they're so deep, by far the deepest team in the league, the best developmental system. Shea is on a whole nother level this year. I mean, let's start as a playmaker. He's career high in assists right now, tied with I believe, a few years ago or maybe last year, but he's on a whole nother level as a playmaker. He's the most efficient double team player in the NBA. He's scoring 1.34 points per double team, which is ridiculous. By far leads the NBA. So there's no defensive coverage you can throw at him where he won't either find a look for one of his teammates or get to his spots himself. And then the worst part about his game was he wasn't a great three-point shooter. And it's like, all right, you'll live with him shooting threes. He is a 40% three-point shooter now, and he's shooting 54% on step-back threes. So there's no liability to his game. He's continued to elevate every single night. Him and this entire group acts like they haven't won a playoff series when they just won a championship. It's ridiculous how locked in they are every single night. You just don't see that in the NBA. This is one of the greatest teams of all time that we're watching right now. And no one will ever believe that because the talent isn't close to one of the greatest teams, like 2013 Heat, 2016 Warriors, obviously the Bulls, that whole stretch, the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. Those are the best, most talented teams ever. Even some Spurs teams you want to throw in there. But this might be the best team ever. Forget talent, best team ever. And what they're doing is absurd. They don't even know how to lose.
Yeah. And we're still the early parts of it. Like this is still the early.
So young.
Yeah. This is the early reign of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
The only guy who's over 28 in the rotation is Alex Caruso.
Yeah. It's nuts. Like this team is only going to get better. So I don't see a world where any team can beat this team 4 times in a 7-game series. I just don't see it. Like this feels like this, unless they have like a significant injury or something like this. And even that, like it would take probably SGA to be like the only guy that maybe takes them out of that conversation. I think this is the Thunder. We're watching a historically great team hit their peak right in front of our very eyes.
Yeah, I mean, the Nuggets are still my pick. I'm not going to back off it, but like that's going to be a dogfight of a series, and there's a reason the Thunder are like absurdly low favorite to win it all this year.
Yeah, it's nuts, and I think rightfully priced. And I don't see a world where a team can beat this team 4 times in the 7-game series. So we'll see how that shakes out from there. Sam, you had a really interesting article as sort of an NBA by the numbers piece. I thought your section on the Miami Heat was particularly interesting to me. So kind of an increase in pick and rolls that they're running and sort of an entirely new design about the offense. There's even some interesting quotes floating out there from Eric Spoelstra and Bam Adebayo talking about how they were sort of embarrassed in the past playoffs and, wanted to accept changing that entirely. Talk to me a little bit about that and your takeaways and if you're buying if this is legitimate.
Yeah, so I do think it's legitimate because it fits the right personnel, what they're doing, which is they're really not running pick and rolls at all. And they're just like a drive and kick and like this wheel rotation offense. And they have to get paint touches. They have to get to the paint, collapse the defense, rotate the ball, swing. And they have all these principles of where you cut from, what moment you cut from. Like if a player drives and he kicks out to you, you don't drive as that player. You automatically, that triggers an automatic swing to clear some space in the lane. And then that player will try to drive. So there's a lot of principles that they're implementing, which a lot of other teams have kind of done. Like the Cavs did that a lot last year, but they still ran a lot of pick and rolls. A lot of their cutting principles and off ball movement was after a ball screen. The Heat are just foregoing the ball screen, and they're also running really fast, like 20+% of their points are in transition because they're just getting it, whether it's a defensive miss, live ball turnover, even a make. They're getting it and running and just trying to beat the defense up the court. And they're really deep. They're a really well-conditioned team. And that wins you a lot of regular season games. Like sometimes basketball is that simple. Teams don't like to run back on defense in the 30th and 50th game of the year on a back-to-back. And if you're consistently running a lot really fast, you're going to get easy points running in transition. And the Heat are good at creating turnovers, which leads to a lot of those transition opportunities. But this team is kind of just like reinvented how offenses operate. And you might see a lot of copycat with that, but it only works with the right personnel. Like Tyler Hero has been a ball screen heavy guy most of his career, but he's a guy who's capable of beating guys off the dribble. Bam Adebayo is a guy he's mostly plays on the dunker in this offense, but when he's on the floor with Khalil Ware, who's had a huge leap this year, he has to play on the perimeter more, and he can beat guys off the dribble. He's not operating as like a dribble handoff guy. So this offense is really interesting and unique, and it's working so far. It's not like they're top 5 offense in the league, but they're much better than they were last year. And this is it's a team that's greater than the sum of its parts, which when you don't have any stars like a Luka or a Jalen Brunson that you can create your offense around, you have to run this more team-oriented, move the ball, a lot of cutting and off-ball movement approach. And that's what the Heat are doing. And they're greater than the sum of the parts because of the system that Eric Spoelstra has created. So they're a good team. Like I don't know if they're going to make a real run in the East, but they're a good team right now.
Yeah, I'm still sort of, I guess, not buying that they're sort of a playoff threat for it, but I do give a ton of credit. This is kind of fascinating from like an X to the nose perspective. And Eric Spoelstra, I think, has largely been recognized as the best coach in basketball for an extended period of time, but I think this is more evidence of that. He basically went back to the drawing board and said, I have these same guys. How can I juice more production out of them? And is having a level of success in doing so with exactly that. So I'm a little bit more open-minded to the Heat than I expected to be. They're certainly more interesting watch than they have been for probably a couple of years to this point right there. I also think the Indiana Pacers deserve a little bit more love as far as influence and what we're seeing around the NBA. That there is this new blueprint to team success in a way that I think had sort of been abandoned from an NBA perspective of it become so star driven, so star dependent. And other teams are saying, okay, maybe if we don't have one of the top 5 guys, we can still find a way to breed this level of success. So it is interesting there.
There's this theory that I forget who invented a couple years ago, but it's like the weakest link theory in the NBA, where the NBA had been a star-driven league, and it's like who has the best players, they're gonna win, and they're gonna win playoff series and win championships. But it's become like who is the best worst players in the league right now, and if you have weak links, then you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. But if you don't have any weak links on your roster and your worst players that you play in your rotation are really good quality players and there's not a big drop off from your bench to your starters, then you're going to have more success. And that's being greater than the sum of your parts. And the Pacers were certainly that last year. And now you're seeing a lot of teams kind of implement that.
Yeah, 100%. And the last point I want to hit on before we wrap up with some Sixers stuff is you finished that article with some comments about the Los Angeles Clippers. With the average age is the number that you did lead with there. It is stick a fork in the Clippers time. I personally feel. I think I kind of read the same sentiment. Is that where you're at?
Yeah, 100%. I don't even know what else you do because you don't even have your pick this year. The Thunder have that pick, which is ridiculous. Out of every team that could have that pick, the Thunder have it. Like, you have to cut ties with James Harden right now and Kawhi Leonard. And just,
what can you get for those guys, do you think? Because I don't think much, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, Harden's still playing an all-star level. There are teams that, like, if you're the Rockets, like, you imagine.
They would have signed him if they wanted him.
But now, but it's different. Yeah, I mean, there's the whole Ime Udoka thing and aspect with that, but it's different now where you see him kind of, he's been able to play in a bunch of different offenses where it's not this like heliocentric offense that has to revolve around him anymore.
Still more so than you probably would like for a guy at this stage of his career.
Maybe, but like the Rockets are a team that could use a point guard. Like, still, even though Reed Shepard's been good, Sengun's getting a lot of PG reps as a big point forward reps. James Harden's a good point guard. Like, Kawhi Leonard, when he doesn't have to carry a load, like, there's a lot of teams, like, he's a plug and play guy. A lot of teams could use him. What's their value? Like, what are you really giving up to get him? I don't know, but the Clippers need to just start a rebuild. There's no point of continuing this cycle and playing these old guys because it's been a disastrous experiment.
Yeah, it 100% has, and I guess they had that little peak last year where there was some hope. They put up some fight, but I mean, the writing is on the wall, and I'm quite thrilled that the Sixers are sitting on that 2029 first-round pick. So shout out to Daryl Morey for that one. That could very much prove to be an extremely valuable draft pick. So I encourage everyone to check out that article on thescore.com. Awesome stuff from Sam. I did enjoy that read there. And now let's conclude with a little exercise here of cut 5. Choose 3 for the top 3 players in Sixers history. So shout out to Nick Kershaw, cousin Nicky on the editing side of things, who threw this to me as an idea, and I do like the design of it. So Sam Oshtry, you do not know the names that I have written on this very post-it note in front of me right here. This is going to be cut 5, choose 3 for the best players in the Sixers franchise history.
Wait, cut 5 or cut 3?
Cut 5, choose 3.
So just top 3 players.
Top 3, yes. And you don't know who is next, so we're coming in blind. I'm going to start off right with Moses Malone right here. So would you consider Moses Malone? I know how much you choose to not respect the elders in these types of conversations, but Moses Malone, where are we at?
I mean, his jersey's in the rafters. Got cut 5. I don't know who you're going to throw at me. I'll put Moses Malone down.
Okay, Moses Malone, one of the 3.
I got to write this down.
I'll throw Charles Barkley at you next here.
I'm cutting Charles. He was so good as a Sixer, but his best year, his MVP year, was with the Suns, and the year they went to the finals. So I'm cutting Charles.
I would agree with that. I also had Charles Barkley. He did play 8 seasons here, which was more than I expected when I went and looked at it there. But I agree. I think he did absolutely reach his peak as a Phoenix Sun and even the Houston Rockets after the fact a little. But no doubt, the round mound of rebounds. Shout out to Chuck Buck, Charles Barkley right there. Ben Simmons, where are we at?
Cut. Come on, cut. It's not even a question. That's the easiest cut of all time.
Thought I'd give you one layup there at least. A little more difficult. Joel Embiid.
Look, his peak is probably you think his peak is the greatest Sixer of all time? I think it might be. Like, his peak is higher than any Sixer who's ever played for the franchise.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. So
I have to look at it from that perspective, where if his peak is greater than any Sixer ever, and it was a very short peak, only that one MVP season, a lot of playoff disappointments. But again, during his like absolute prime, a lot of organizational chaos too. So it's not all his fault. And like what he is now, it's hard to even imagine what he was 3 seasons ago. But like, he was unbelievable during that MVP season in the first 39 games or whatever it was of the following season before he got hurt. So I'm keeping Embiid.
I like it. And I also give him a lot of credit. I've ridden for years on the take of the Sixers organization has failed Joel Embiid far more than Joel Embiid has failed the Sixers organization. I think that he does deserve credit for sort of being the foundation in which there was that level of turmoil there. Shout out to our guy, Rocky the Birds fan, checking in. And that peak, like, I think there's a conversation where that was the most impressive peak in basketball history that I've seen for that 39 games that unfortunately will get lost in history due to the lack of time there. But I love giving Joel Embiid the respect. And y'all got to get that ball dude again. I will send on the message to Sean Brace, which is hilarious there.
I think we'll be on Thursday.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on today and woke up sick, he said. So we're rolling with duos here. So we have Sam Oshtry to recap. Charles Barkley has been cut. Moses Moses is in. Joel Embiid is in the top 3. Ben Simmons has been cut. We've got one more spot for 4 more names here. Hal Greer.
Cut.
Yeah, I know you don't.
I mean, not that I really know. I'm going to pretend like I know a whole lot about his career, but there's got to be better names than him on here. So he's getting cut.
Just to rattle off some numbers, Hal Greer is a 10-time All-Star, a Hall of Famer, 1 championship, 7-time All-NBA. He's on the NBA top 75 list. He averaged 19.2 points, 5.0 rebounds, 4.0 assists in his MVP season where he almost finished 6th in MVP voting. Averaged 23.3 points, 6.1 boards, and 4.7 assists. Sort of the co-star to Wilt Chamberlain there.
Caught him.
Doesn't move you. Well, we'll go to Wilt Chamberlain next. And I think this is a little bit more of an interesting conversation as well.
Yeah, it is. Like, it kind of contradicts everything I was saying in the Jokic argument, but for how dominant he was in his era, like for this specific team, and we're talking about the best players for this franchise, and I don't know who else you're going to throw at me, but when I'm going through the list, there's not that many iconic Sixers. So I think I'm going to keep Wilt and take a risk and have to cut the final 2 guys, whoever they are.
Wow. So
we'll
your
top, I like it.
Your top 3 you're rolling with Moses Malone, Joel Embiid, and Wilt Chamberlain there.
It's a big team.
That is. So that means we would next be cutting Dr. J, Julius Irving. How do we feel about that?
I honestly feel good. Look, I'd rather have Dr. J on the team than Moses. So I would do Dr. J, Joel, and Joel and Wilt Chamberlain. But based on how it played out, like I'm not super upset about Moses over Dr. J. If I'm correct, didn't Moses win a Finals MVP ahead of Dr. J?
I believe that is correct. I know the story is like Dr. J couldn't go over the hump, and then Moses Malone was like the final piece there.
So I don't hate it. Like I don't hate it.
All right, and how about Allen Iverson? How does that make you feel? The answer.
Yeah, there's no way. I honestly didn't think you were going to go that route. I thought you were going to put Maxey on this list, and I was going to be okay with cutting Maxey. Yeah, I hate it. Like, there's no way you can cut Allen Iverson. I'd put Allen Iverson over all 3 of these players, even though Joel's peak was better. If ideally, I would go Joel, Wilt, Allen Iverson, but it played out that way.
Yeah, I ended up settled, and obviously I had the names in front of me, so a little bit of an advantage here. The 3 that I would have ended up with would have been Joel Embiid, Allen Iverson, and Dr. J. And the reason that I left Wilt off, I think he's
Wilt's your guy.
He is, but he also played just 4 years for the Philadelphia 76ers directly there. So I kind of factored that in this side of things, but some decent names. I kind of enjoyed this. I feel like we can.
Yeah, I like this game.
Yeah, and I do like this question because I kind of brought this up a couple weeks ago, or with Brace, actually. Maxey surpasses Iverson if he wins a ring. I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, if he wins a ring, he's the best player in Finals MVP, no doubt. He doesn't even need the regular season MVP. And as close as Iverson came, like if Maxey can give this franchise that's just been cursed a ring, like he would be the ultimate savior in the history of Sixers basketball. So yeah, he would surpass Iverson.
Yeah, no, I think so for sure. And I do think the prediction that I will continue saying is I think Maxey ends up on this Mount Rushmore of Sixers players. He's still just 25, still got a lot more work to do, but could not be more thrilled with the progress and leaps that he has shown. But that's just going to about do it for us today. Sam Oshtry, any final words on the Eagles, the Sixers, anything else you want to get off your chest?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything and anything. Big time Philly show today, and we'll be back Thursday.
Yeah, and shout out to Kyle Schwarber for the return as well. So make sure we get that box checked as well. But appreciate each and one of you guys for listening to this episode here. Make sure you're subscribing, liking wherever you're listening at, whether it is on the Pick Swap Media YouTube, over on Spotify, Apple Pods, any of our socials. Appreciate you guys for rocking with us. Let us know what you think about that little game and exercise at the end. I think we can do that with a ton of different teams as well. So we're going to keep things rolling over here on the Pace and Space podcast. We'll be coming to you live on Thursday at 5 p.m. So be ready to lock in for that. Hopefully Sean Brace on the program as well. But for Sean Barnard, for Sam Oshtry, signing off. We will talk to you next time. Peace.